This is Stars and Scopes with your friend Uma, updated every new and full moon with guidance based on planetary transits in the current sky and extra support from tarot. For accuracy, take a look at your rising sign first if you know it, and do feel free to listen to your sun, moon and rising if you'd like the full picture. If you're interested in your birth chart, check out the readings page at umaruby.com, and if you'd like to support the work, head over to buymeacoffee.com/umaruby and you can buy me a coffee. Finally, if you're a visual learner, look up Uma Ruby Tarot on YouTube and you can watch and learn. Okay, let's take a look. Hello Capricorn and Capricorn rising. Welcome to your horoscope for the new moon in Libra happening on September the 26th at 7:54 a.m. if you're in the southern hemisphere with me. Now sorry to get straight to it, but there's the tarot here has really moved me, and it's really highlighting a separate part of the zodiac that I don't have that many notes on. But let's first of all, we'll talk about the possibilities for this lunation in Libra for you, and then we're going to move on to perhaps some points of interest. So for you, Libra rules your 10th house, which is the house of the career and your most public self. In the natural zodiac, in the zodiacal wheel where everyone feels completely at home, Capricorn rules the 10th. Capricorn is the master of the 10th house. The 10th house speaks to a lot of the highest vibrational talents that Capricorn has in terms of diligence, of work ethic, of achievement, and access to growth. You know, that sort of steadfast nature that Capricorn is known for, that ability to work really hard and to accrue results of that hard work. So a great moon, obviously, to call in all of your professional hopes and dreams and aspirations. And that's where I'm going to leave it, I think, because you know, as a Capricorn, you know the 10th house, you know what it is you wish to achieve, and I'm sure that I don't need to tell you what is next on your list of to-dos or what's next on your list of aspirations. I'm sure that I'm speaking to quite a few folks that might have some sort of life plan written down ahead of them. This message is for my Capricorn risings, but also my Capricorn suns as well. If your sun sign is Capricorn and you're watching this because that's the sign that you most identify with, then these messages can also be transcribed to you as well. There is a lovely near exact trine occurring at this lunation between Mercury in its retrograde position. So Mercury has moved from Libra back into Virgo, and Pluto, which sits in Capricorn, also in its retrograde motion. Now I'm speaking potentially specifically to folks whose placements, either your ascendant or your sun sign, rest in the last decan, which is the last 10 degrees of Capricorn. These messages could also be relevant to those that are earlier, but there's something quite personal in this reading that I'm going to go with. And it's because I am a Capricorn sun. My Capricorn sun placement is at 24 degrees of Capricorn, so in that last decan. And the way that I'm looking at these cards, as they've come out, I pulled the cards in the intro of this reading, and the message that they're giving me to express to you is quite a lovely one and quite profound. If you're a Capricorn sun and your sun placement exists in that last 10 degrees from 20 to 30 degrees of Capricorn, I would hazard a guess that in the last bit of time, the last 5 years perhaps, but particularly maybe crystallized over this period that the pandemic has entered our consciousness, there has been a real battle and a real disintegration perhaps of your identity. I can also speak to my Capricorn ascendants too on this, but it perhaps would be felt in a more unconscious way. Perhaps there was something, a rumbling in your soul, if that's something that you can identify with, as far as a change, a disintegration had to occur, a complete dissolution of self may have been experienced in this bit of time. And through that reckoning, through that anxiety, that complete dissolution of self came, and if it hasn't come yet, I'm saying this because I'm letting you know, Capricorn, that it will come, this moment of rebirth, this phoenix rising from those ashes. Through that space, things like the 10th house, things like the public self, the vocation, the identity, how we're most publicly perceived, were dragged down, dragged away with that dissolution, that Pluto energy, that harbinger of power and of destruction, that clearing energy in order to make way for the new. There would have been emotional pitfalls or perhaps complete emotional dissociation that you may have experienced during that time. There may have been an inaccess to the feeling body, perhaps a complete existential crisis in some way. That imbalance, that moment of turbulence, had you confront something deep within, something quite buried, but very powerful. And through that experience, you have, or you will, come to the other side and ascend. And you will be different from who you were before. Your sense of identity and what you represent, your most public self, will be changed. And for the benefit of that self, for the benefit of your progress in this life. When I say identity, I'm talking to Capricorn suns. When I say soul purpose, I'm talking to my Capricorn risings. But I tell you what, in this reading, you're sort of connected. The reason I'm bringing all of this up is because Mercury, in its retrograde position, is forming this trine, this helpful, joyful exchange. So the messages that have been downloading for you, or the messages perhaps that you need to express to others, perhaps you're making sense of this period of your life, less to do with not less to do with, let's face it, hand in hand with a complete nervous breakdown, a complete identity crisis, a complete burnout, a dissolution of self, a rock bottom moment maybe. Hand in hand with that has come enlightenment, has come that pinpoint of light for you to follow. Pluto, like all of the planets, like all of the cosmic bodies in our universe, is here to help. And they can feel at times completely soul-destroying and difficult. But if we remember that every energy that we're working with in this universe is here for our greatest benefit and to really provide some sort of sustenance and some sort of way forward for us, then in that way, Pluto, the power, the destroyer, the shaman of our solar system, is here to guide you through to the next stage. And perhaps in this particular trine, I'm speaking very specifically to some Capricorns right now, perhaps this experience is one that you are either on the way to or have explored and can integrate into your current experience. And there are messages, there is an articulation of this fact, there is an expression through intellect and through communication that you need to proffer towards others. There's some kind of explanation that you feel you are ready to give. So, Capricorn suns, this is the identity crisis that I'm speaking to. Virgo exists in, it depends on your rising sign really, and that will go to show where Virgo shows up for you on your chart. When it comes to Virgo as a soul entity, as a singularity, no matter what heavenly body, what heavenly house it might be affecting in your life, Virgo talks to us of that journey inward to open the portal, to receive the messages, to ground ourselves, and then to share with others. And as with Mercury as their ruler, as their leader, that is in some ways taking on that role of messenger in order to aid other people, perhaps in their plight or in their journey, or perhaps to go to explain, not to explain, you don't have to explain yourself to anybody, perhaps go to highlight and color and paint a picture of where it is you went and why it is you had to go for a time. This lunation in your 10th house, your most public self, your most visible side of you, this is specifically to my Capricorn risings now, this is your opportunity to connect the dots of polarity. There's this light, there's this dark. They are the same thing. They're connected by an undercurrent. That's the essence of Libra. That's what Libra is here to remind us all, is to find that middle point, to connect polarity, to connect and reconcile duality. So I say this to you with directness, Capricorn, because I do know how black and white your thinking can sometimes be, and how polarizing and dual your perspective can sometimes be when met with opposition or met with confrontation. That's one thing that Libra does not like, is confrontation. So in your public self, Capricorn rising, this could be destabilizing for you, considering what you've gone through with Pluto's influence over this last bit of time. I'll say it again to cap off this reading. Mercury is retrograde and trining Pluto. So go over those messages, that truth that you've come to learn about your rebirth, and craft the channels to share this information with other people. That's your reading for this Libra new moon, Capricorn. That was quite a big one. I'm going to show you the tarot cards in silence just as I close out. Much love to you. You can get your birth chart read at umaruby.com. I would highly recommend you pick the spirit reading so we can get into the specifics and the differences between your sun sign, your identity, your moon sign, your emotional reactivity and your habits, and your rising sign, which I tend to believe is your soul's purpose. Much love, Capricorn. I'll speak to you in 2 weeks with the new moon, the full moon in Aries. Take care.